Okay, since the government's controlling my phone, I reached out to Al Sharpton and I put in a crisis information for crisis and help, and they haven't responded. I did one several months ago as well, and I believe I was speaking with counterfeits. And he played games. He wouldn't give me the resources and played games for several months, pretending like an attorney was supposed to call me and assist me. They're supposed to be giving me churches and different organizations for support and assistance. They hung up. They weren't answering on the crisis line. And I did it, submitted a something online for crisis support, and that no one has responded. But the initial, what these multiple organizations do, if they don't flat out deny services, they play games. So I don't feel that I'm getting. I just feel like I don't have civil rights because they're able to break into my phone and sabotage any assistance to escape them. I pay this phone bill and can barely even use my phone. 90% of my calls aren't being returned. They're depriving me of access to my daughter. The rest of my family don't feel safe talking to me, so churches disregard me. Every last one. I'm not going to say that the ministers are involved, but every church that I've reached out to, they have deprived me, and it's abusive. I don't know if the members realizing this. Even though the police department is doing this, it's a form of disregarding a human being in their life. That's abusive. So for me to go, I want to be involved in church, and for me to go to church and church to church and have these members disregard my life, it makes me uncomfortable to be there. Because I have told you my life is in jeopardy, and then you ignore me and disregard me with that knowledge. They initially say that they're going to help, and I assume the police department or the government entices them to disregard me and be abusive. So they do it. To disregard a human being, and they have told you their life is in jeopardy, is a form of abuse. And they've had multiple parties engage in that abuse with them. So this is what happened this morning. They're not answering the phone and they're not returning my call. I'm not quite sure if this is a real representative for this organization that played games for several months, deprived me of all information on what their program does, any advocacy, support, references. He deprived me of all of that for several months and said someone would get back to me. And then after he played games all that time, he schemed to deny services altogether. This is another number. There used to be a call center that it would answer the phone. They're not doing it now. It just rings for me. They did not answer. Oh, they're not answering. And if you're new and you're wondering about the YouTube comments, okay, the government and my abuser, they're so corrupt. They have these cyberbullies and trolls on my YouTube comments, and their reasoning behind the YouTube comments is try to convince you guys that I'm delusional and not to believe me. So if you notice that there's not a lot of people that don't condone in the comments police falsely arresting someone, assaulting them as sitting at a domestic violence support group. They all think that all this chaos is okay. They think that, terminating someone's rights and you don't know why is okay. And then after they denied me access to my son, and I was a legal custodial parent. So they got away with that, and they wanted to change up the scheme. So they changed it up with my daughter and schemed because they just flat out denied it with my son. They didn't want to do it a second time that way. So they schemed the second time with my daughter. But anyway, so that's what's going on in the comments. They're so corrupt. They're using cyberbullying and slander in the comments to convince you guys that I'm delusional and all this chaos isn't happening. And it's a form of abuse as well, bullying, cyberbullying as well. So it was very difficult to me at first to see all that chaos in the comments, slander, but I've learned to ignore it. But I'm trying to find the people that are willing to help, who thinks this chaos is sick, and I haven't really seen a lot of that in the comments. I don't know if they're just going out deleting it like they did, kept me from my mail, like they keep me from my calls. I have no clue what's going on because the government is abusing a lot of power to keep their chaos going on, their corruption, and to cover for this man. And like I said, I don't really even know what he truly does for a living. He's told me he was a graphic designer but I don't think the government would cover for a graphic designer to this degree. So I think that there's something going on with what he actually does for a living than what I thought that he did.